thought you were weak. They thought you would crumble. They thought their words, their actions, their dismissals, their judgments would break you, but they were wrong. Dead wrong. I see you. I know the weight you've carried, the silent burdens you've borne on your shoulders, the crushing weight of being underestimated, misjudged. People saw the cracks and believed you were fragile, a brittle thing ready to shatter. They never saw the fire that burned deep within you, the strength that they could never understand. They thought you were nothing more than a passing shadow, something they could dismiss without consequence. But now they have to reckon with the storm that's been quietly building inside you. Do you remember how it felt? How they looked at you with pity, with scorn, with that cold, dismissive glance that said it all. They saw the surface, the quiet, the silence, and mistook it for weakness. But what they failed to see, what they couldn't even imagine, was the world within you, the fierce determination, the relentless spirit that was brewing, waiting for its moment. That moment, it's now. You're standing here, not because of their predictions, but despite them. And you're stronger than you've ever been. How many times have you questioned yourself? How many times did you wonder if they were right, if their words were truth, if their doubts were justified? They tried to shape you, to define you, to push you into a box that fit their narrow view of who you should be. They didn't see your potential, your grit. They couldn't see the future that was brewing behind your calm demeanor. But you always knew, even when you couldn't voice it, even when the world around you tried to convince you otherwise. You knew. Now look at you. Look at how far you've come. They thought they could control your narrative, but you've taken the pen. The story is yours to write. The power was always within you. They couldn't see it, but it doesn't matter now. What matters is that you know it. You're not here because of them. You're here despite them. And now you stand ready to prove that their misjudgment was the greatest mistake they ever made. This is where the game changes. This is where you turn everything they thought they knew about you on its head. You're stronger than they ever imagined, and now it's time for them to face the consequences. You've carried the weight of their misjudgment in silence, haven't you? The world, those people looked at you and saw nothing but vulnerability. They saw the quiet, the calm, the moments when you stayed still, when you didn't speak up. What they couldn't see was the storm raging inside you. They mistook your silence for weakness, your endurance for fragility. But in reality, you were the silent mountain, standing firm against the storm, weathering every gust, every blast of harsh winds. They thought the storm would break you, thought it would wear you down, make you fall, but you didn't fall. You stood tall. They never saw the storms in your heart, the crushing weight of their words, the dismissive glances, the silent judgments that tore at your soul. How many times did you feel that sting, the quiet judgment that whispered, "You're not good enough," the unspoken words that echoed in your mind, planting seeds of doubt? But through it all, you endured. You endured because you knew that beneath that storm, beneath the winds that howled against you, you were not fragile. You were unshakable. They saw you struggle, but they never understood the strength it took to keep going. Every time you held your head up, every time you faced the world with a semblance of peace, they didn't know the internal battle you fought. They didn't see the pain, the sorrow, the fear, or the uncertainty that tried to claim you. Darkness hides its light, but it also hides help. The something that hides what light is. Turn your head the other way, to uncertainty that tried to claim you. They didn't see the scars you wore, each one a testament to the battles fought and won in the silence of your mind. They never saw you struggle with the demons they planted in your path. They just saw the aftermath, the strength, the resilience, the quiet power you carried in your bones. But now, look at you. You've been through the storm, and you've come out stronger. What they never understood was that the storm didn't destroy you, it sculpted you. Like the mountain, the storm carved out your strength, shaped your resolve, and turned your pain into power. You are no longer a silent victim of their misjudgment. You are the product of every battle, every scar, every storm that tried to break you. And now the storm is past. The mountain remains. Your strength was never about silence. It was about endurance. It was about standing tall when the world expected you to fall. You're still here. You've always been here. And now the world must reckon with the strength that was born from their doubts. They thought you were fragile. They thought you would break. But you are the mountain, standing firm, unmovable, unshakable. And they will soon realize that you were never the one to fall. You were always the one who would rise. They misjudged you because they couldn't see what lay beneath the surface. They didn't understand your true nature, your potential, your power. Instead, they saw what was on the outside, the mask you wore to protect yourself, to shield your vulnerability. But they didn't look closer. They didn't look deep enough to see the beast beneath that mask. They mistook your silence for weakness. They thought that because you didn't shout, didn't demand attention, didn't flaunt your talents, that you were invisible. that you were powerless. But what they failed to realize was that the mask you wore wasn't a symbol of fragility. It was a symbol of control. It was a shield, a piece of armor that you wore to navigate a world that didn't understand you. They saw the mask and assumed that was all there was to you, that the quietness was an absence of strength, that the calmness meant you weren't capable of chaos. But beneath that mask, beneath the stillness, was a force waiting to be unleashed. They underestimated you because of their own ignorance. They looked at you and saw only what they expected to see, what they wanted to see. They projected their own fears, their own insecurities onto you. They assumed that because you didn't fit into their narrow view of strength, you didn't have any. They couldn't fathom that someone so quiet, so composed, could hold such fire within. But you knew better. You knew that strength doesn't always have to be loud. It doesn't always have to be seen. Sometimes, the strongest of forces are the ones that lie hidden, waiting for the right moment to strike. They didn't understand the depth of your resilience. They didn't realize that every moment you stood silent was a moment you were growing stronger. Every time they doubted you, every time they dismissed you, they fed the beast beneath the mask. They fueled the fire, stoked the flames, and gave you the energy you needed to rise. They thought they were controlling you, pushing you down, forcing you to conform. But in reality, they were giving you the very fuel you needed to break free. Your strength wasn't something they could see, it wasn't something they could comprehend. They only saw what they wanted to see, what fit into their limited vision of who you should be. But you were always more than that. You always had the power to shatter their expectations, to prove them wrong, to show them the beast they never saw coming. And now, it's time for them to realize that their ignorance, their fear, their insecurities have only served to strengthen. You are not who they thought you were. You are more. You are the force they never saw. And now, they'll have to face the consequences of underestimating you. You've always had the strength within you. It was never absent, never out of reach. But for a long time, you didn't know it. For a long time, you believed their words, their doubts, their judgments. You let their misjudgment become your reality. You let it cloud your vision, bury your true potential under layers of doubt, fear, and insecurity. You thought you were weak because they told you so. You thought you couldn't rise because they said you wouldn't. But let me tell you this, those moments when you felt small, when you questioned your own worth, when you believed that the world's judgment was the truth, those moments were not a reflection of your weakness. They were merely the quiet before your storm. They were the moments that were preparing you, refining you, making you ready for what was coming. You weren't weak, you were dormant, you were waiting. Think about it for a second. How many times have you been knocked down? How many times have you faced rejection, disappointment, and ridicule? How many times did you want to quit, to give in, to believe that the world was right about you? How many times did you let doubt seep into your bones, convincing you that you didn't have what it took? But through all that, did you truly break? No, you endured. You stood tall even when it felt like everything around you was crumbling. There was a fire inside you, a strength that was just waiting to awaken. You didn't fall because you were weak. You didn't give up because you didn't have the power. You stayed silent because you knew deep down that this moment wasn't your time. You were just waiting for the right moment, the right spark, the right reason to rise. The strength you possess was never gone. It was simply buried beneath the weight of others' expectations and your own doubts. But now, you know better. Now you can feel it stirring within you, growing stronger with every passing moment. You're no longer waiting for permission to rise. You're no longer waiting for someone to see your worth. You've realized that your strength was always there. It was never their approval you needed. It was your own belief in yourself. You've always been capable. You've always had the power. And now, it's time for you to rise. Not because of anything they said, but because you finally see the truth. You are strong. You are unbreakable. You were never weak. You were just waiting for the right moment. And that moment, it's now. The weight of their misjudgment didn't come all at once. It was slow. It was subtle. It crept in, day by day, until it became too heavy to ignore. At first, it was just a glance, a sideways comment, a half-hearted criticism. But over time, those small moments began to accumulate. They piled up on your shoulders, like invisible chains, each one a reflection of their doubts, their expectations, their belief that you couldn't be more than what they saw. Every time they told you you weren't enough, every time they doubted your potential, every time they assumed you would fail, they placed another chain around your spirit. You didn't even realize it at first. The chains were light, barely noticeable, just a whisper of weight on your soul. But as the days passed, as the judgments grew louder and their expectations became sharper, the chains grew heavier. They didn't just hold you back, they made you feel trapped. You began to question yourself, to wonder if they were right. You began to believe that the chains were real, that you were bound to a life of limitation and doubt. Those chains were never real, not in the way you thought, but they felt real, didn't they? They felt like an undeniable truth, something you couldn't escape. Every doubt they cast, every judgment they placed upon you, every time they told you who you should be, the chains tightened. They were counting on you staying locked in place, believing you couldn't break. They didn't know you had the strength to break them all along. You started to believe the chains were permanent, that you were stuck in a place you couldn't escape. They convinced you that you couldn't go further, that you didn't deserve to rise above. They made you feel small, made you feel invisible, made you feel like you were meant to remain in the shadow of their expectations. They didn't know that they were only building the fire inside you. The pressure of their misjudgment became your prison. But what they failed to see was that every moment they tried to lock you in, every chain they placed on your spirit, was just adding fuel to the flame. You didn't see it at the time. You didn't understand the weight of their judgments was just making you stronger, teaching you resilience. But now, you know. You know that every moment of doubt, every moment of fear, was nothing more than preparation for the day when you would shatter those chains. And when that day comes, and it's coming soon, those chains will break, the weight will fall away, and you'll see them for what they really were. Illusion. They thought they could bind you. They thought they could keep you locked in place. But you were never meant to be confined. You were meant to break free. The battle you faced has never just been against the world. It's been within you. The external judgments, the dismissive glances, the condescending words, they hurt, yes. But what hurt more, what cut deeper, was the voice that came from within. The voice that questioned your worth, your potential. The voice that echoed their doubts, amplified their judgments, and made you wonder if they were right after all. At first, you tried to ignore it. You tried to push that voice aside, tried to silence it with the belief that you knew who you were, that you didn't need validation from anyone. But the doubts kept creeping in, didn't they? Every time someone doubted you, you felt a pang in your chest. Every time they wrote you off, you began to second-guess yourself. Was there truth in their words? Was there something wrong with you? It wasn't just the world you were fighting. It was yourself. It was the battle between the voice of doubt and the voice of empowerment, constantly at war in your mind. The voice of doubt would whisper, maybe they're right. Maybe you're not cut out for this. Maybe you should just accept the label they've given you and stop fighting. It was quiet at first, sneaky, subtle. It would come in small moments, like when you were alone with your thoughts or when you faced another setback. This is who you are, it would say. You can't change it. You should just accept it. Stop fighting. Stop trying. But then there was the other voice, the voice that refused to bow down, that refused to accept defeat, the voice of empowerment, the one that always reminded you of your worth, even when you couldn't see it. You are more than they ever thought you were, it would shout. They don't define you. You are not the labels they placed on you. You are not what they see. You are what you decide to be. That voice didn't allow you to settle. It didn't allow you to accept mediocrity. It reminded you that your journey was your own, that their judgments had no power over you unless you gave them that power. The internal conflict was real. It was a war, fought in the silence of your mind, between the belief that you were destined for more and the fear that you were nothing more than what they saw. It was a constant back and forth, a battle between giving into their expectations or rising above them. Every time you stumbled, every time you faced rejection, that voice of doubt would try to take over. But you kept fighting, didn't you? You kept pushing back against it, even when it felt like it was all you could hear. And now, that battle is shifting. The voice of doubt is growing quieter, fading into the background, because you are finally starting to believe in the voice of empowerment. You're starting to realize that the only judgment that matters is your own. You are the one who decides who you are. You are the one who defines your worth. The external world might have tried to label you, to box you in, but now you are seeing that the only label that matters is the one you place on yourself. The internal struggle is coming to an end. The voice of doubt is no longer winning, and in its place, the voice of empowerment is rising, stronger, louder, unstoppable. It's time to silence the doubts. It's time to embrace the power that's always been within you. The only thing left now is to take action, to step into the truth of who you are. The battle is over, and you've won. They think you're the victim. They think you're the one who's been beaten down, who's been crushed under the weight of their judgments, their words. They see you as the one who's been pushed aside, ignored, dismissed. They see the struggles you've faced, and they paint you as a victim, someone helpless, someone who can't escape the labels they've placed on you. But here's the truth. The world sees you as a victim because they haven't seen the hero within you. They haven't seen the power you've been hiding, the strength you've been nurturing in silence. You are not the victim in this story. You are the hero. You've always been the hero. They've just been too blind to see it. The victim is someone who stays stuck, someone who believes they have no power, someone who allows the opinions of others to dictate their worth. The hero, on the other hand, is someone who fights back, who rises against adversity, who uses their pain as fuel for growth. The hero doesn't stay down. They rise, they evolve, they become the force they were always meant to be. You've been told that your circumstances define you, that the world's judgments are your fate. But let me ask you this, who decides who you are? Who holds the pen to your story? It's not them. It's not anyone, but you. And right now, you stand at a crossroads. You can choose to keep playing the role of the victim, to keep believing that the world has more control over you than you do, or you can step into the role of the hero, the one who rises from the ashes, the one who takes control, the one who decides their own destiny. It's time to shift your perception. You are not helpless. You are not defined by their misjudgment. The pain you've endured, the doubts you've fought, the obstacles you faced, they do not define your worth. They are the tests, the trials, the fires that forge the hero you are becoming. You've been through hell and back, but you're still standing. And every battle you faced, every moment you thought you couldn't go on, has been a chapter in your transformation from victim to hero. The world thinks they've beaten you down. They think you're weak, but in reality, you are stronger than they will ever understand. You have the power to rise. You have the strength to transform your story. The hero within you is waiting to emerge, and when they see you rise, when they witness the fire you've been hiding, they will understand that they never had the power to define you. You were always the one with the power to rise, to break free, to become the hero of your own story. The world may try to make you the victim, but you get to decide if you play that role. And today, you choose to step into your power. You choose to rise, because you are the hero, and it's time the world saw you for who you truly are. They never saw it coming. They thought their words, their actions, could break you. They thought the weight of their judgment would be too much for you to bear, that it would crush you under its heaviness. But what they didn't understand is that every strike they made, every doubt they cast upon you, every time they tried to push you down, it didn't weaken you, it forged you. You may have stayed quiet, kept your pain to yourself, but inside, every moment of adversity was sharpening your resilience. Like the toughest steel, you were forged in fire. Each time the flames of challenge rose, each time you faced a new obstacle, you were being tempered. The heat of their criticism, the pressure of their expectations, it all molded you into something stronger. You didn't crack, you didn't break, you endured. And through that endurance, you built a silent strength they could never have anticipated. Resilience isn't loud. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't demand attention. It's the quiet persistence that keeps you going, even when it feels like you're drowning. It's the strength to continue moving forward, even when the world is pushing against you. And that's the resilience you've built. Silent, subtle, but unbreakable. You didn't need to shout to prove you could endure. You didn't need to show anyone your pain. You just kept going, kept surviving, kept pushing through. And with each step, you became stronger, more solid, more unwavering. The hardest of steels are forged in the hottest of fires, and that's exactly what they did to you. They tried to break you with their doubts, their harsh words, their dismissive looks, but all they did was make you stronger. They didn't know that every blow they struck you with only sharpened your character. They didn't realize that, with every hit, they were helping to form the person you were becoming, a person they would never be able to defeat. What they never saw was the quiet strength that was growing inside you. They thought the storms would break you, that the challenges would shatter your spirit. But what they didn't realize is that the storm only polished you, the fire only tempered you. You didn't just survive, you became the very force they feared. Every struggle, every hardship was simply another layer of resilience being built into the core of who you are. Now you stand unshaken, unbroken, with the silent resilience that was formed in the face of adversity. You are stronger than they ever thought possible, and as you continue to rise, they will realize that they never truly understood what you were made of. The moment of clarity doesn't come with a fanfare. It's not loud and it's not dramatic. It's subtle, almost quiet, but it is undeniable. It's that one moment when everything changes, when the fog lifts and you realize that you've been carrying so much more within you than you ever gave yourself credit for. It's the realization that the limits they set for you, the labels they placed on you, were never yours to accept. And in that moment, you see the truth. You are capable of so much more than you've ever been led to believe. It's like a seed growing in the dark soil. For so long you've been buried, hidden from view, unnoticed. No one saw the potential within you. No one saw the strength, the fire, the resilience waiting to rise. And yet, despite being buried in the dark, despite the weight of the world pressing down on you, you were growing. You were silently preparing yourself for the moment when you would break through the surface and reveal the power that had always been there. This is the moment of transformation. It's that first crack in the facade, that small shift when you realize you don't have to play by their rules anymore. You don't have to accept their judgment. You don't have to live under the shadow of their expectations. You are more than what they see, more than what they think, more than what they've allowed you to be. And in that moment, you decide to fight back. Not with rage or revenge, but with the quiet power of someone who has awakened to their true potential. It's the moment when you stop asking for permission. It's the moment when you stop doubting yourself and start trusting in your own strength. You are the seed breaking through the soil, pushing upward, reaching toward the light. The world may have tried to bury you, to hide you, to make you small, but now you see that their attempts were in vain. You are not meant to remain hidden. You are meant to rise. In that moment of clarity, you realize that the fight was never against them. It was against the limitations you placed on yourself. You were never weak. You were never incapable. You were just waiting for the right moment to awaken. And now that moment has come. The surface has cracked. The seed has broken free. And nothing can stop you from growing, from rising, from reaching the heights you were always meant to reach. This is the awakening. This is the transformation. And it begins now. You are no longer who they thought you were. You are no longer bound by their expectations. You are a force, an unstoppable power, and you've just begun to rise. The power that was always within you, hidden, waiting, ready to burst forth, has been unleashed. For so long it was dormant, buried beneath layers of doubt, fear, and judgment. But now you know. You know that what they saw in you was never the full picture. What they saw as weakness was actually the quiet storm of potential, waiting for the right moment to erupt. And now, that moment has come. The cage is open. The bird is free. You were the caged bird, your wings clipped by their doubts, their expectations, their limitation. They thought they could keep you trapped, keep you confined to a life of smallness. They thought that by controlling the narrative, by telling you who you were and what you could do, they could hold you down. But what they never understood is that the strength within you was never theirs to control. They couldn't cage the fire that burns inside you, and now it's roaring to life. Now you're soaring, higher than ever before. Your wings are spread wide, catching the wind of your newfound freedom, your limitless potential. Every beat of your wings takes you further from the darkness they tried to keep you in. Every moment of your flight is a victory over the chains they placed on you. You are the bird that has taken flight, not because the world opened the cage, but because you broke free, and now there is no limit to where you can go. But here's the truth. You wouldn't be flying this high if you hadn't been in that cage. You wouldn't have the strength, the resilience, the power to soar if it hadn't been for the darkness of your journey. It was the darkness that shaped you. It was the weight of the cage, the pressure of being trapped, that gave you the strength to break free. The struggles, the pain, the doubt, it all had a purpose. It was the fire that forged you, the storm that sharpened your wings. Embrace the darkness of your journey because it is what made you who you are today. It is what transformed you from the caged bird into the unstoppable force you are now. Without that struggle, without those challenges, you would never have discovered the strength that was always within you. You would never have known how high you could fly, how far you could go. Now, you are no longer bound by the limits they set for you. You are free. You are powerful. And the world is yours to conquer. So soar higher. Break through the clouds. Let the wind carry you to places they never thought possible, because you've only just begun. The villains in your story aren't just the people who doubted you. They aren't just the faces who sneered, the voices who laughed, or the hands that pushed you down. The true villains in your journey are the ones who underestimated you, who failed to see your potential, who judged you based on their own fears, insecurities, and limited perceptions of what you could become. These villains come in many forms. Sometimes they're people, friends, family, colleagues, or strangers who write you off. Sometimes they're the societal biases that try to confine you to narrow roles, limiting what you can achieve based on where you come from, your gender, your background. And sometimes the most dangerous villains of all are your own fears, the ones that tell you that you're not enough, that you don't deserve more, that you'll never make it. These villains, in their arrogance, thought they had you figured out. They thought they could box you in, control you, limit your potential. They saw your struggles and used them as evidence that you were weak. They heard your silence and mistook it for defeat. They saw your quiet strength and interpreted it as passivity. They thought they knew who you were, but they were wrong. They didn't see the fire within you, the power waiting to break free. And because of that misjudgment, they made the fatal mistake of underestimating you. And now, they must face the consequences. Their underestimation has cost them more than they could ever know. They thought they were in control, that they could dictate the terms of your life, that their judgment could shape your future. But instead, their underestimation has set the stage for their downfall. They didn't see the seed of power growing inside you, and now that seed is a force to be reckoned with. The consequences of their misjudgment are unfolding in ways they didn't anticipate. Every time you rise, every time you achieve something they thought impossible, their control slips further away. They thought they could break you, but instead, they've created the very thing they feared, the unstoppable force that refuses to be held back. Their doubts have fueled your determination. Their limitations have become your stepping stones. And with every success, with every triumph, their mistake becomes more apparent. They thought you were nothing, but now they are seeing that you were everything all along. The villains, whether they were people, society's biases, or your own fears, will now have to live with the consequences of their actions, the consequences of underestimating you. And as you continue to rise, as you continue to soar, they will be forced to watch from the sidelines, helpless in the face of the power they failed to see. The roles have reversed. They thought they held the power, but it was always yours. And now it's too late for them to take it back. There comes a moment, a defining, irreversible moment, when you realize that you are no longer going to let others dictate your life. You stop asking for permission. You stop seeking validation. You stop letting their judgments, their doubts, and their perceptions hold power over you. You stand at the edge of your own future, and in that moment, you make a decision. From this point on, you are in control. The judgments of others, the labels they placed on you, the narratives they tried to write for you, none of it matters anymore. Their voices, once so loud in your head, are now nothing more than distant echoes. You hear them, yes, but they no longer have the power to shape you. You are no longer the victim of their expectations. You are the creator of your own destiny. In this moment, you realize that you hold the pen to your own story. You've always had it. You've always been the one with the power to change the course of your life, but for too long you allowed others to hold the ink, to draw the lines, to decide who you were. No more. The moment you take control, you reclaim the pen, you reclaim your voice, and you rewrite your future according to your own terms. The power isn't in their hands anymore, it's in yours. You are no longer defined by what they think, what they say, or what they have tried to impose upon you. You have become the author of your own narrative, the director of your own story. You write the chapters, you determine the plot. You decide who lives, who dies, and who gets a second chance. You are the creator of your own life, and nothing, no one, will ever have the authority to steal that power from you again. I am the author of my own story. I will no longer allow your perceptions to shape my truth. This is the declaration you make to the world, to yourself, to anyone who ever tried to limit you. This is the moment you step into your power, unapologetically, fully, without hesitation. You will no longer allow their judgment, their limitations, or their doubts to shape the person you become. You are no longer bound by their expectations. You are no longer confined to the small boxes they built for you. You are free, and you are ready to take control. This is your story now, and from this moment on, you will write it the way you always should have. The moment of confrontation has arrived. This is the climax of your journey, the point where the tables turn, where the villains who once tried to tear you down are now forced to face the consequences of their misjudgments. For so long, they thought they knew you, thought they understood your limits, your weaknesses. They believed that by underestimating you, they could control your path, shape your future, and keep you in your place. But they were wrong. Now, the very people who doubted you, who cast their judgment upon you, must watch as you rise. They must witness the very thing they tried to suppress, the unstoppable force that was always within you. And with every step you take towards success, with every triumph you claim, they are forced to see how blind they were. They believed they held the power to break you, but in reality it was always in your hands. The powerful reversal is at play now. They are no longer the ones in control. They are no longer the ones who get to shape your story. Their doubts, their judgments, their criticisms, all of it has turned back on them. They thought they were in charge, but now they are the ones trapped in a cycle of regret, self-doubt, and insecurity. They are the ones who have failed. They are the ones who will have to live with the consequences of underestimating you. As you rise, they sink. They watch helplessly as you achieve what they once thought impossible. They see you succeed, they see you flourish, and all they can do is stand by, unable to stop it. The very strength they tried to suppress is now the thing that fuels your ascent. And every victory you achieve is a reminder of their mistake. The success they thought was out of your reach, the power they believed you would never hold, it's yours now, and they can do nothing but watch as you claim it. The roles have reversed. They are no longer in the position of power. They are no longer the ones who get to dictate your life. You are the one who now holds the pen, and their judgments no longer matter. This is your moment of transformation, not just because you've overcome their doubts, but because you've shown them something far greater. You've shown them that your strength was never something they could control. You've proven that no matter how much they tried to hold you back, they could never stop you from becoming who you were always meant to be. And now, as you stand at the peak of your success, they are forced to reckon with their mistake. They have to face the reality of their underestimation, the consequences of their actions. And all you can do is keep rising, higher, stronger, more unstoppable than ever before. The villains have faced their own defeat, and you have stepped into your power. From the ashes of doubt, from the wreckage of their misjudgment, you rise. What they didn't understand is that their attempts to break you didn't destroy you, they only made you stronger. Their dismissiveness, their underestimation, their attempts to cage your potential, none of it could ever truly hold you down. You are the phoenix, reborn from the flames of their doubt, rising stronger, more powerful, more unstoppable than ever before. Just like the phoenix, you've gone through the fire. You've been burned, you've been tested, and you've come out of it not broken, but remade. Every challenge, every struggle, every moment of doubt, those were just the flames that refined you, shaping you into a force that cannot be contained. You didn't just survive the fire, you embraced it, you let it transform you, and now you soar with the power that only the strongest can claim. As you rise from the ashes, you claim every victory as a testament to your strength. Every accomplishment is a nail in the coffin of their misjudgment. Every time you prove them wrong, you stake your claim on the ground that says, I am more than you ever thought I was. You are not just defying their expectations, you are showing the world, showing them the truth of who you are. You are not the person they thought you were. You are not the person they tried to limit. You are an unstoppable force, a hero of your own story, and with every step you take, you are rewriting the narrative they tried to trap you in. This isn't just about proving them wrong. It's about proving to yourself what you are truly capable of. It's about stepping into your power and owning your truth. Every victory, big or small, is a declaration. It's your voice, rising above the noise of their doubts, declaring to the world that you are unstoppable. You are the phoenix, and nothing can ever burn you down again. Now, as you continue to rise, the world will have no choice but to watch in awe, and they will realize, too late, that the hero they thought was weak, the person they thought would fall, is the one who will reign supreme. You are the unstoppable force they never saw coming. And this is just the beginning. The time has come for the villains to confront the truth they've been blind to all along. The guilt and regret are settling in now, weighing heavily on their hearts because they realize they've made a fatal error. They underestimated you. They dismissed you, belittled you, and thought you would crumble under their judgment. They didn't see the fire burning inside you, the strength that was always there, waiting to rise. But now, as they watch you soar, they are forced to face the consequences of their ignorance. Poetic reflection sets in as the realization dawns on them. They didn't see you coming, and now, they never will. They didn't understand the depth of your potential, the power behind your silence, the strength hidden beneath your quiet exterior. They thought they could define you, label you, limit you. But now, as you rise to heights they could never have imagined, they must reckon with the painful truth. They were wrong. So wrong. The guilt creeps in, a sharp and uncomfortable reminder of their own arrogance, their doubts, their cruel words, their dismissive actions. They now feel like shackles, the very chains that keep them stuck in their own regret. They cannot undo what they've done, cannot take back the time they spent underestimating you. And now, as you climb higher and higher, they are forced to watch in silence as their mistake becomes clearer with each passing day. They thought they knew you, they thought they understood you. But now, as you thrive, as you succeed, they are left with nothing but their own guilt. They have no power over you anymore. Their underestimation, their disregard, their judgment, it no longer matters. They can't reach you, they can't touch you. You are beyond their grasp. The real tragedy for them is not just the mistake they made in misjudging you, but the realization that they'll never get the chance to correct it. They'll never get to tell you they were wrong. They'll never have the satisfaction of seeing you fail because they never saw the unstoppable force you were becoming. Now, you're beyond their reach, unstoppable, unbreakable, and untouchable. And as they watch you rise, they can only reflect on the truth they refuse to see. You were always more than they thought you were. And now, they will never be able to reach you again. The villain's mistake has cost them more than they ever imagined. This is your moment. The moment when you stand at the pinnacle of your own power, not because you've defeated them, but because you've conquered yourself. This is not just about proving them wrong anymore. This is about something much greater. It's about proving to yourself that you were always meant for more, that greatness was in your blood all along, and that you are never defined by their doubts, their limitations, or their misjudgments. You have already won. The battle was never truly about them. It was always about you, about the voice inside you that refused to stay silent, the fire inside you that refused to be extinguished. You've already overcome the darkest moments. You've already proven that their judgment didn't define you. And now you stand victorious, not because of their failure, but because of your strength. You've risen from the ashes, not just to show them what they missed, but to show yourself what you are truly capable of. It's no longer about proving them wrong. It's about proving to yourself that you were always destined for greatness. This is the realization that will drive you forward. You were never meant to be a footnote in someone else's story. You were meant to be the author of your own narrative. And now, as you claim your success, you realize that it was always yours for the taking. The world didn't create your greatness. You did. The victories you've claimed weren't just earned by beating others. They were earned by discovering the truth about yourself. And now, with each new triumph, you're proving to yourself that you were destined for this all along. The journey you've taken, the struggles you've overcome, and the obstacles you've faced, they've all led to this. And now, standing in your power, the only question left is this: where will you go next? Because this moment, it's only the beginning. You've proven to the world who you are. Now, it's time to show them who you will become. The future is yours to create. You've already won, and this is just the first chapter. The final transformation has come full circle. The ones who once misjudged you, the ones who believed they could write your story, now see you for who you truly are. A force, a presence, an unstoppable force of nature. They now understand that their dismissal of you was not just a mistake. It was their downfall. They failed to recognize the power you carried within you, the strength that only revealed itself when the time was right. And now they watch as you tower above them, your true power undeniable. Their eyes are wide with disbelief, their minds spinning with the realization that they never stood a chance. They thought you were weak, thought you would break, thought their judgment would hold you down. But they were wrong, and now they must face the ultimate truth. You were always stronger than they ever imagined. The mountain that stood silent, the seed that grew unnoticed, now towers above all. The mountain they thought would crumble stands firm, unshaken and unbreakable. The seed they underestimated has blossomed into a tree that casts a shadow over them all. Every challenge they thought would defeat you only made you more resilient, and every doubt they planted in your mind only fertilized your growth. Now you stand tall, untouchable, and powerful, while they are left to grapple with the consequences of their actions. This is the final revelation. You were never meant to be small. You were never meant to be anything less than extraordinary. And now, as they watch you rise, they are forced to reckon with the reality of your power. They thought they knew who you were. They were wrong. The ultimate consequence of their misjudgment is this: they will never be able to catch up to you. They will always be left behind, watching as you continue to rise, continue to grow, and continue to become the person you were always meant to be. You have already transcended their doubts, their expectations, and their limitations. You are now the force they never saw coming, the force that cannot be stopped. And with each new victory, with each new step forward, you are only proving further that you were always destined for greatness. As you stand at the pinnacle of your transformation, you come to the ultimate realization. Your journey is far from over. This is not the end. It is merely the beginning of a legacy that will echo far beyond this moment. The world is watching now, but your story will live on long after those who misjudge you have faded into the background. The impact you've made, the path you've carved, will resonate through the lives of those who come after you, inspiring them to rise when they too are told they can't. The hero's legacy is not built in a moment of victory. It is built in the lives that are touched, the hearts that are inspired, and the future that is shaped by your actions. You are not just living for today, you are living for tomorrow, for the generations who will look back and see your strength, your resilience, and your power as the foundation upon which they build their own greatness. Full circle, they misjudged you, but in the end you are the one who changed the game. They thought they could limit you, they thought they could define you, but in the end, it wasn't their judgment that shaped the world, it was yours. You are the one who changed the rules, who rewrote the story, who proved that the greatest power lies within the person who refuses to be silenced. Your legacy is not just in what you've achieved, but in how you've inspired others to break free from the chains of misjudgment and step into their own strength. And as the years pass, as the world changes and evolves, your impact will live on. People will speak of you, not as the one who was doubted, but as the one who rose above it all, the one who shattered the limits and proved that anything is possible when you believe in your own power. Your legacy will become the fuel that propels others to believe in themselves, just as you believed in yourself when the world tried to hold you back. So remember this, your story is not over. The chapters are still being written, and the greatest part of your legacy is yet to come. Because in the end, you will not just be remembered for what you achieved. You will be remembered for the way you changed the game, for the way you showed the world that no one, no matter how powerful, can ever underestimate the strength of a person who knows their own worth. Now, it's time for you to step forward and claim what is rightfully yours. Time for you to show the world, those who doubted you, those who tried to break you, those who misjudge your strength, exactly who you are. Don't hold back. Don't shrink into the shadows of their expectations. Show them the power that has always resided within you, the strength they tried to suppress, the greatness they never saw coming. And never, ever apologize for your strength. Never apologize for the fire that burns in your heart, the determination in your soul, the power in your every step. You are not here to fit into their limited view of you. You are here to shatter that view, to destroy the labels they've tried to place on you, to rise above the noise of their doubts and show the world exactly what you're made of. You are the storm they feared, the thunder that shakes the earth beneath their feet, the rain that douses the fire of their ignorance. You are the force that cannot be contained, the wind that sweeps through their walls and topples their illusions. You are the fire they tried to extinguish, but no matter how many times they tried to put you out, you only burn hotter, brighter, fiercer. And now, you are the flame that lights your own way forward. But here's the truth. You are no longer just the storm or the fire. You are the light that guides your own path, the beacon that calls you forward, the source of your own strength and power. No one can take that away from you. No one can dim your light, because your light comes from within. It is your truth, your strength, your will to succeed. Now go, step into the world, step into your destiny, and show them who you are, because they may have misjudged you, but now you will be the one to change the world. And when you do, never apologize for your strength. Never apologize for your power. You were always meant to rise, and now you are unstoppable.